Welcome, everyone, to issue number 18. This is Jared Ambeau, owner of the Ambeau Law Firm and founder of Trial Alliance. Our topic for the day is, are we stuck with who we are? So what does that mean? Well, I have an interesting story. So last night I went to the phone store with my 15-year-old and my 22-year-old son. And we were getting them new phones, and there was this discussion on whether or not I would get a new phone at the same time, whether someone would take my Galaxy 9 Plus, or I would get a Galaxy Note 9, and then somebody wanted an iPhone XR or whatever, XS or whatever it is. And so we were talking, and my 15-year-old couldn't decide whether or not he wanted an Android or an iPhone. Eventually, I got tired of this conversation, tired of this back and forth. I was like, all right, enough. I'm going to get the Note 9. You can have my Galaxy 9 Plus, and your big brother can get whatever he wants. So we started to do that, and that process was occurring. And then I got up and walked around a little bit and was looking, and I looked at my 15-year-old, and I could see that something was wrong. And only about 2 or 3 minutes had passed. And I walked up to him, and I said, Joseph, what's wrong, buddy? What's going on with you? And he started getting teary, and I was like, all right, you're stressing out. What's wrong? And he said, well, I don't want to seem like I'm, being selfish or being a brat by saying what I want, but I'd really rather have the iPhone. And he starts crying. He's upset at this point because he's a very thoughtful child, So he's like, I don't want to feel like I'm being a brat or just telling you this is what I want or don't want that. You're giving me a great phone, but I really would rather have the iPhone 10, I think. And while he's doing this, he's having a sort of physical and emotional experience all at the same time. And he's had some previous issues in his life with worry and with anxiety and those kinds of things, especially when I was in Iraq in 2004, and he was a little kid. I'm sorry, not when I was in Iraq in 2004. He was a very tiny kid when I was in Iraq in 2004. When he and his mom, I and his mom got divorced, he had a lot of anxiety going on because I wasn't in the house and it was just with her, and he had a lot of fear about being safe and those kinds of things. And he went through a lot of that and some therapy and that kind of stuff. And not to disclose everything about the kid, I'm not trying to, kind of throw him under the bus, but to say that he's got some challenges, right, in terms of this anxiety thing, right? And so he was having that experience at that moment, and not out of any bad place, but out of the place of not wanting to be a brat, not wanting to be a kid that thinks, I can get what I want and kind of ask for what I want. And so his anxiety kind of built up, and he had some emotion, and he was freaking out. And we got through it. I gave him a hug, and we talked about it, and I got him an iPhone X. It wasn't that big a deal. It's like, it's not that big a deal, baby. I was just trying to make a decision for you because you seemed like you didn't want to make the decision. But now you've made the decision. It's fine with me. I told you to get whatever phone you wanted. And so we got the phone for him. And we kind of got through it, and it got me thinking because I love him so much, and I want him to be a powerful young person, and I want him to have strength, and I want him to have the ability to make great decisions and to not be subject to some of these things that occur to him and happen to him, and especially in terms of this anxiety thing that happens to him sometimes. And so as I was thinking about this, I thought, well, there's really two things that come to my mind, and it's to the answer to the question I asked in the beginning, which is, are we stuck with who we are, right? We have some inherent sort of qualities, whether they're learned or whether we come in with it, or whether that's another discussion for another moment, I guess, and probably not one I'll ever have because I don't really care. The point is that he has that now. So whatever the source may be, that's where he's at in his life. He has this anxiety thing. And so the question is he stuck with that? So I think two things come to mind when I think of that. The first one is to tell the truth about it. So there's something very, very powerful about just being honest with where I am. So, and I know I go back to the body transformation constantly, but in last January or February, when I came to realize that I was in really terrible physical shape, the first thing I did was admit that I was in really terrible physical shape to myself and to the people in my life, right? I had to be honest with myself about where I was, and honest with the people in my life about the kind of fear that was going on with me and the real concern I had for my physical health and my ability to live, my longevity. And it took that because it took telling the truth, because telling the truth about it took the power away from the secret. It took the power away from keeping those things private, right? As I was keeping those things private, it gave it power. It started to grow on its own, and then the secret became powerful, and then the not telling became something. it almost like it has a cascade effect of growing larger than it actually is because I'm not being disclosing it, I'm not being truthful about it. And telling the truth about it sort of undoes that, right? It sort of makes it go away, or not makes it go away, but diminishes the power of the withhold or the lie or the thing I'm not telling, right? And so telling the truth about it is an important first step. And for him, telling the truth about it looks like when it happens, talking about it, confronting it, not in some crazy way, but just kind of talking about it and saying, hey, how do you feel? What's going on with you? Take control of your physical body, because he has a physical reaction too. So he starts moving a lot and he's moving his hands around and stuff. I'm like, okay, put the hands down and kind of take control of your physical body first. Okay, so concentrate on that first. Take control of your physical body. Take some deep breaths. Look at me in the eye so you can focus. Take some deep breaths and talk to me. And then just express to me what you need to express. Just tell me what's going on with you, because that's what's telling the truth about it, right? That's like saying what's going on. And I think that's a wonderful analogy for everything and all of my challenges in life, all of my flaws and defects and the things that I try to get better at doing every day and the way I try to expand and grow every day is by just telling the truth about it first, knowing where I am. I cannot get anywhere in my life without knowing where I am today, without being straight with myself about this is where I'm at today. And then the second part of that, I think, the second sort of thing that comes to mind to me is something I alluded to in talking just now about the telling the truth part of it, which is it's sort of embracing that is the reality of today. It's really okay. It doesn't have to be something that you're left with for life, right? It doesn't have to be something that stays with you forever. That's just where you are today. And I told him that. I'm like, we've had this discussion before because he's had these kinds of reactions before about, different things, grades or school or traveling somewhere. And we talk and I tell him, it's really okay to just be who you are right now. It doesn't mean that's who you're going to be tomorrow or the next day or a month from now. I mean, the truth is that I was a hyperactive, crazy kid. And then that left me at some point in my life. I was a very unhealthy adult in a very bad shape. And that left me through a lot of work and a lot of telling the truth about it and a lot of figuring out where I am, right? I mean, in 1999, I got into an automobile accident with my family in the car. I hit a dump truck head on, and I got a brain injury where I was losing my memory. I was in the restaurant business at the time, and I went and took some testing to figure out, what was going on with me because my short-term memory was really, really wacky. And at that point in 1999, I had quit high school in the middle of my 11th grade year. I'd gotten my GED. I'd never gone to class since. If you'd asked me to write a sentence, a complete sentence, I could have probably done so, but if it was a complex sentence or had some subordinate clauses, I would not have been able to. I still can't use commas, but I would have been really terrible at using commas then. I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to write. I didn't know what was going on. I took these tests, and one of the lady that gave me the test said, "Look, you should really go to school. You're a pretty smart guy. You should do something." And that was one of these triggers. It was one of about 5 or 6 triggers that led me into school and into law school. But before that, the truth about me at that time was that I was uneducated. I had not committed to my education or to expanding my mind in any reasonable way. That was the truth about me. And I was willing to look at, wow, this is the truth about me. I think I'm real smart. But I've never applied it in my life at that point in 1999. Here I was, 28, 29 years old. I didn't really know. I was just a restaurant guy. I was just a guy working in the restaurant business, managing restaurants. I didn't know. I thought I was real smart, but I had no clue. I didn't know if I could do anything. When I went into that first English class in school, and they told me to write a paper, the paper was 1 page long. It took forever. I didn't really even get it because I had stopped paying attention in high school in like the 9th grade, early in the 9th grade. I just had to stop paying attention. I didn't care. And so I didn't know I had my wife at the time was like, I'm going to need you to look at this and tell me if this is reasonable. I don't have any idea. I don't even know if these are real sentences. And I had some things in there that were not sentences, that were not actual sentences because I didn't know how to just do easy stuff. And so was I stuck with that as a person? Well, no. Now, my education journey, which continues today, obviously, is I mean, it was long and difficult, and it took a ton of work and a ton of effort, and every day, all the time, working at it, and getting an undergraduate degree, and getting a Juris Doctorate, and now getting a master's degree in forensic genetics, forensic DNA and serology. I am, this education journey that continues today is something that's taken forever, but it changed who I was. I was not stuck with who I was. I was not stuck as that person, that uneducated, sort of thinking I'm smart, but not really having done it. And so I transitioned back to, is my son stuck with being the kind of kid that has anxiety and worries? Perhaps. Perhaps it's chemical. Perhaps it's something that's larger than his behavior. But perhaps it's not, right? Maybe that's buying into the game too, right? I mean, maybe his behavior and his learning how to control his physical space, control his body, learning how to manage his mind, are something that can make real progress for him. Maybe that's a way he can teach himself the skill to get through those moments, right? And as he goes older, he can get better at it, better at managing those moments in his life. And so what I get from that message is that I'm not stuck with who I am, as long as I'm willing to do the work. As long as I'm willing to tell the truth about where I am and to see that doing the work, figuring out a way forward and doing the work forward can get me through, even those things I don't think I can change. That my power to be different and to expand and to grow is limitless. I'm absolutely boundless if I'm willing to tell the truth about who I am and do the work to be who I want to be. And that's the message today. I really appreciate you guys listening. Thank you very much. And I'll see you all tomorrow.